I think it's been A1 this year. Good girls. Thank you for coming to our bed turning. It's nice to see so many smiley faces today on this beautiful weather day. I hope you've enjoyed the show. If you haven't had time to circulate and look at the projects and quilts, you'll have time after this. The quilts will not be taken down until 4 o'clock, so you will have time. Vote for your favorite quilt. Be sure now that your name is in the box for drawing for door prize, because we're going to do that as we stand up here right after this. I tried to get several tickets and they almost kicked me out of the building. We have a bouncer at the front door yet. Yeah, she was gonna, it got ugly. This first quilt belongs to me. I pieced it, Civil War era reproduction fabrics. Took about 6 years to gather up my fabrics. I had never done needle turn applique, had already made the decision I never would. I had a sister who does it. She lives in Tennessee, and she's always said, you need to do needle turn, you'll love it. And I said, you won't see it happen in this life. I got this quilt to this point, and I was going to put brown, and I thought, now I have to do needle turn applique. I taught myself how to do needle turn applique on the quilt. And Norma Bowman hand quilted it for me. I love my quilt. That was in 2013. Now I'd rather needle turn applique than piece. I've gotten into wool. I'm not wanting to piece quilts anymore. Good job, Marilyn. She's going to get a raise.
She had good teachers.
Oh, yes, that's true. This is also my quilt. It's called a Minnesota chain. It's 1930s era reproduction fabrics. Took several years to gather these fabrics. I never was interested in doing 30s. I found this pattern and thought, that has to be 30s fabrics. So that's how that got started. Then I did the piano keys border, and that was in 2007. It was long arm quilted by Wilma DePriest.
Labels? Labels? Yeah, labels.
My quilts always have a label. And Darlene's and all these ladies. We finally got them. I mean, that's a rule. Yeah, that's a rule. Label. And they'll inspect to see if other people have labels. And then they'll say, she doesn't have a label. I've created some monsters. Yeah, label police. I didn't introduce the girls. This is Marilyn Wharton. This is Terry Stroop and Darlene Scott. This quilt, it belongs to Janet Haas. She's here somewhere.
No, she had to leave for a while.
Oh, did she? Okay.
She'll be back.
It was made by Nellie Corson, 1987. Janet says, in 2007, my mom gave each of her children a quilt basket with a quilt made by her or my grandmother. When I pulled mine out of the basket, she gave me a letter that my grandmother had written in 1987. Grandma said she had finished Janet's quilt and she was putting it in the mail. When Mom got the quilt, she hid it because it was a gift for me for my first child due in August of '87. She didn't find it again until 2007.
And that's all tiny little blocks. That's all good.
This is, okay, we were here dead on our feet last night and she pulled this out and I said, I've never seen this pattern before. I don't know what this is, I've never seen it. No. But it is a postage stamp quilt. Okay. There are thousands of these little 1-inch squares in here. Right. And then this variation in the pattern. Yeah. But it's just stunning.
But why cut them apart and then sew them back together again? Because this whole thing...
You're a quilter, you're not supposed to think like that.
To get a postage stamp.
And the beautiful basket she got is in there on the wash day scene, the big laundry basket, just awesome too.
Can you imagine when she got that? It's not a bug, is it?
You know, it's a loose thread.
Which is why you need that.
There are many loose threads.
Well, and also,
Some of them we call Marilyn, some we call Darlene. This quilt belongs to Jamie Mayhem. It's called the Spring Flower Basket. It was made by her Aunt Ruth Brewer. I don't have trouble saying Brewer until I see it in German, the German spelling. 1940s. And Jamie wrote the story for this one. This quilt was made by my Aunt Ruth in Fulton County, Northwest Ohio. Many of the fabrics used are from the 30s and even include feed sack material. But the presence of a few newer textiles indicate that Ruth probably used various fabrics from her stash that she had accumulated over time to complete this project. Most likely the quilt was constructed in the 1940s. The quilting and piecing were all entirely done by hand. Ruth, like many women of her generation, went to work in the 40s during World War II. She took a position at the local rural phone company where she worked a switchboard on the night shift so she could care for her family during the day. She would quilt to pass the long and uneventful night hours at her post. She was quite a prolific quilt maker, but as many of us quilters do, she did not keep many of her works herself, but gifted them to family and friends. This quilt came to me through Ruth's sister, my grandmother, Gertrude Brewer Larkin. Nana passed away at the age of 100 last February, but had safeguarded this quilt to pass on to me. She had enjoyed and used a couple of Ruth's quilts to tatters over the years, but this one she had saved and meticulously stored away. It had never been used or laundered, and if you look closely, you can still see the pencil marks where Ruth had sketched the quilt pattern she intended to sew.
I don't know if you can all see, but
I keep it proudly on display in my home now. I'm honored that this quilt was gifted to me, especially since Ruth passed away before my birth. Quilting now helps me feel connected to my family's heritage and a special lady I did not have the chance to meet in person. P.S. She put a note to me. At the urging of other LT Cures this year, I added a label to the back of the quilt, and then my name's in parentheses. I'm the label police. This is a picture of her Nana. Jamie has only been quilting 2 years. When she came to our group, she was not a quilter. We waved our magic wands, sometimes we can do that, and make a quilter. Her first project was this pillow, and she took it to Nana. Janet Haas owns this quilt. It's a double wedding ring made by 3 generations. Lucille Graves pieced the quilt, Nellie Croson quilted it, and Janet finished it with the binding in 1987. My mother pieced it, well, I might be wrong about the date on the binding, I'm sorry.